What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sector for Nerds, and welcome to another episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars Retro Discussions. Today we're going to be talking about Clone Wars Season 2, Episode 7, Legacy of Terror, or as I like to call it, the zombie episode. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. So much great content going up on my channel right now, you guys. Definitely don't want to miss it. Alright, so this episode was directed by Stuart Lee and written by Egon Mahoney. The cookie for this episode: sometimes accepting help is harder than offering it. Now allow me to introduce you to the man whom this week wants to be referred to as the prototype, the face that runs the place. Where have I heard these nicknames before? And the doctor of thugonomics. Intro guy, take it away. Victory on Geonosis! After a massive planetary siege, the Separatist forces on Geonosis have finally fallen. Key weapons factories have been destroyed, but at a heavy cost to Republic troops. Now, as Jedi Master Luminara Unduli and Obi-Wan Kenobi begin a cleanup of the planet, they launch an intense campaign to find Separatist leader Poggle the Lesser and bring him to justice. Thank you, intro guy. I'm telling you, I've heard those nicknames somewhere before. This was a crazy episode of the Clone Wars, you guys. I mean, this arc in general has been absolutely fantastic so far. And then we got this week, which took a completely different turn to where I thought they were going with this. So let's start talking about this episode. First of all, you guys, Obi-Wan Kenobi. My goodness, you look great considering what you went through 2 episodes ago. I don't know what back-to-tank you were using, my friend, but I want it. Like, you look at him when he walks out of that gunship, you wouldn't have known he went through hell. Okay, I have to ask this question. So, we all know, right, like, Obi-Wan and Ventress. Like, if you watch the Clone Wars movie, like, there was kind of the flirting between the two of them. Then there was that one episode in Season 1 called The Hidden Enemy. You see some flirting there as well, right? So you kind of see, like, Obi-Wan and Ventress got, like, a flirtatious thing going with each other. And then, obviously, you know, there's the one that we're gonna be talking about in a couple episodes' time, and that whole thing happens. But did anyone ship Obi-Wan and Luminara by chance, or would that have just been me? I don't know, just the way that they would talk to each other, the way that Luminara would look at Obi-Wan, it just kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of like made me raise an eyebrow. Like, even when I was little, like, what's going on here? Maybe that was just me, but like the way that she like looked at him when she's like, oh, would you mind, Master Kenobi, to save some strategic planning for me? I would hate to feel left out. Like, I think she was obviously being sarcastic in what she was saying, but like the kind of the way she was speaking with him, I don't know. And then later on in the episode, she saves him, and I'm like, we'll get to that later, but there were just several moments throughout this episode where I was like, are they setting something up here? And then a little bit of foreshadowing, what we see in a couple episodes' time, makes me go, oh, okay, no, this is gonna be Obi-Wan's love interest. Oh, great, we also got Dickhead back in this episode. I mean Ki-Adi-Mundi. Everyone's kind of putting over how, like, they suffer a great many losses in these battles, and so many men are hurt, and Obi-Wan's saying, let's hope we don't have to retake Geonosis a 3rd time. Yeah, let's not do that, please. Man, Luminara was, like, so set on capturing Poggle the Lesser in this episode. And she follows Poggle to this temple, and there's no sign of him, and Obi-Wan's like, alright, get yourself out of there, we've lost him, he's gone down to the catacombs, there's nothing more we can do right now. And then all of a sudden you hear, like, the clone getting taken out that's with her, the connection to the transmission gets lost, so it's like, okay, yeah, Luminara's getting ambushed here. Anakin wants to go and help her, but there's a sandstorm going on right now, so there's really nothing they can do. But then the episode kind of has a little bit of a jump to once the storm ends, and we see Obi-Wan, Anakin, Commander Cody, good to see Commander Cody again, and his boys go out there and try to rescue her. They find the clone that's dead, they find Luminara's lightsaber, and so they make their way into the catacombs. Now here's a nice little story for you guys. When I was like 10 years old, watching this episode for the first time, this was really like my introduction to what a zombie was. I don't know, maybe other 10-year-old kids knew what zombies were, but at the time I was a very, let's just say, a naive kid. I wasn't really that smart, probably because I spent so much time daydreaming about Clone Wars in classes. But anyway, this was like my real introduction, right, to like what a zombie was. And because I didn't know what a zombie was, it was kind of one of those things where when stuff started happening, like I remember as a kid getting like a little scared watching this episode because it was like what, these things are dying. What's happening right now? They look creepy. They're not dying. Like Commander Cody freaking shoots one in the head and it's still moving. And they're like, we can't kill these guys. I'm like, yeah, why can't you kill these guys? Luminara's trying to fight him off, and like you just see the one with the close-up shot and it just starts screaming, and I'm like, ah! Luminara's trying to fight all these things off. She gets a transmission out to Obi-Wan. If you're following me, get out of this place now. Fall back. And then she starts getting beat down by him. Obi-Wan's like, she must be close by. Come on. And they start running down, and then all of a sudden they get confronted by these things. Like I said, they're shooting them. They're still moving. They're cutting them up. Some of them are still moving. I think the lightsabers were the best bet because like there were a few of them, right? Like Anakin would cut off their hands, cut off their head. They'd finally stop moving. Now, if you'll notice, like first time watching through this episode, maybe it doesn't pick up with you right away, but when Cody shoots it, there is a moment where it stops, but then you see like that little worm, which we'll talk about in a second, like kind of crawl out one side of the nose and into the other, and it starts moving again. And so then it's like, okay, so it's like these are the things that are controlling them right now. But again, it was one of those episodes, like I could not believe, like looking back on this, I can't believe something like this was on Cartoon Network. I was like, this is like intense shit right here.
Back, everyone, back! Take out the tunnel supports, it's the only way!
They end up taking out the tunnel supports, they end up getting away from them. And then Obi-Wan has this line, because Anakin's like, bro, what were those things? We couldn't kill them. And Obi-Wan's like, I've heard stories of a Geonosian hive mind so powerful, so strong, that it can maintain its connection with its warriors even after they have died. My attempt at an Obi-Wan impression. And that's why they couldn't kill them, because they were already dead. Bro, this stuff was like next level creepy for me as a kid. Even nowadays, I get weirded out by it, because like, I'm not like a huge horror fan, to be honest. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like horror films or zombie films. Like, I've seen a few of them, but like every time I do, like I always end up just like having that like level of nervousness, or, you know, just like I cringe every time I'll see certain things. I'm like, ah! And it's funny because it's like, it's not till you start getting older where you start to realize like what things are, because you see a couple zombie movies, you play a bunch of Call of Duty Black Ops zombie mode, which is always fun. And then it's like you realize like, oh, these things are zombies. Obviously, I figured that out like long before right now, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. Anakin's like, this can't be real. This is impossible. And Obi-Wan's like, well, impossible or not, these things kept moving after we cut them up or shoot them down. And so he sends 2 clones to the surface to contact General Mundy for reinforcements. And the moment he did that, I knew, like, even at 10 years old, yeah, these troopers are gonna die. And that's exactly what happens. The zombies eat them up, and it's like, ugh. Now, again, these aren't like typical zombies, because like these, you know, they end up biting them, they end up killing them, but it's not like then the clones themselves become zombies. Because what we find out here is that it's not necessarily that it's just about that the Geonosians being zombies. The reason why they act this way is because of the worm that's in them. It's like more of a mind control thing, you know what I'm saying? Just makes them act like zombies. I wonder if that's how like George and Dave had to pitch this episode to Cartoon Network. Though I think it's funny because I don't remember, I mean, granted, I wasn't on social media back then, so I didn't know like what the reactions were. But I do remember hearing more stories about like people complaining about a clone saying the word hell in Clone Wars, and that's why they ended up taking it out when they would show replays. We kind of talked about this last season. I feel like I remember that being a bigger deal than the zombies thing. Maybe I'm making it out to be a bigger deal in my head more than it actually was. But Obi-Wan's smart. Like, he knows, all right, something's going on here, and it's more than just what it seems. Like, why would they take Luminara captive and not just kill her like they've done everybody else? And Obi-Wan straight up calls them zombies too, so I'm like, okay, we're actually admitting to these things being zombies now. And so they kind of go over a plan, right, of how they're gonna take these things out. It's like, all right, these creatures live in darkness. The helmets from your light should be enough to, like, create enough of a diversion. Cody brings up the good point, though, right? Like, what happens when these things start attacking us? Like, you've seen them in action, sir. We can't kill them. Anakin brings up a good idea. okay, we'll have to bury them. Even if we can't kill them, we can at least slow them down. It's kind of like how you're playing Call of Duty, right? If you're playing zombies mode, like whenever you rebuild the barriers, right? Like around the map, it's not necessarily it doesn't stop the zombies from entering the map, but it slows them down from doing so, and you have time to like do whatever it is that you need to do. Now, they did have like a fair bit of comedy in this episode as well. Maybe it was meant to like ease the tension of all the zombie stuff. Who knows?
I thought I told you not to follow me, Master Kenobi.
Yes, well, I took a lesson from Anakin and decided not to follow orders.
Hey.
Because, Anakin and Obi-Wan, they're walking up to confront the queen. The zombies don't attack them, and Anakin's like, how'd you know they wouldn't just attack us? And Obi-Wan's like, because I make observations while you think with your lightsaber. Yeah, Anakin's one to think with both of his lightsabers, if you get my drift.
How did you know they wouldn't just attack us?
Because I make observations while you think with your lightsaber.
Well, that quick thinking of mine is usually needed when your observations get us into trouble.
Anakin, the Queen took Luminara hostage. She wanted a Jedi, now she has 2 more. I want to know what she's after.
Well, when this doesn't go as planned, which it won't, I'll be ready.
That is so reassuring.
Obi-Wan and the Queen have this chat. That's where we sort of find out, right, like what her plan is. Oh, by the way, the Queen is voiced by D. Bradley Baker.
He speaks like that kind of voice, and I don't know how much that they've affected it or how much it actually sounds like that.
This man can do any voice. There was a moment again where like Luminara looks up at Obi-Wan and I just again was like, is something going on here? And they get the worm ready and Obi-Wan's like, all right, I want to see how it works. Anakin's like, I don't think Luminara wants to see how it works. And Luminara's like, no, I don't.
It's a sort of mind control, a hive mind. She thinks she can possess us.
Great. Find out everything you wanted to know yet?
No, wait. I want to see how it works.
I don't think Luminara wants to see how it works.
No, I don't.
Yeah, fair enough, Luminara, I don't either. Because, like, meanwhile, like, Luminara's starting to panic, like, alright, I don't want to be doing this right now, you guys. Anakin's like, yeah, neither do I. And Obi-Wan's just sitting there calm, cool, and collected, like, alright, now which do you think it's gonna enter, the ear or the nose?
I'm curious. The more we know, the better.
I disagree.
So do I.
Come now, the nose or the ear, which do you think will enter?
I think the nose.
Luminara sits there panicked as the worm appears on her head, and she's like, alright, I really hope this is part of the plan right now. Obi-Wan's just like, isn't it always? Cody, now! And then Cody and the boys appear. Anakin takes his lightsaber and Luminara's lightsaber and does like a double spinny twirl thing that like Hayden Christensen would have done in the prequels. But there we only ever see him do it with like one lightsaber. Here, he just takes 2 lightsabers, starts swinging them around, starts cutting up the Geonosians. I'm like, let's go, Anakin!
You're coming with us,
Obi-Wan grabs the worm, and unfortunately, like 20 seconds later, Anakin notices the worm in Obi-Wan's hand, and Anakin like knocks it out of his hand and then steps on it. Obi-Wan's like, I was gonna study that, and then off in the distance as Anakin's already running away, you hear him going, study the bottom of my boot. That line right there actually might be one of my favorite Anakin lines in Clone Wars. Study the bottom of my boot. That's amazing.
Obi-Wan, look out! What? Anakin, no! Got it! What are you doing? I was going to study that!
Study the bottom of my boot. Come on, let's get out of here!
So they capture Poggle, right? They got him going along for the trip. They have to climb out, and this is where Luminara saves Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan's like focused on giving Commander Cody some cover fire with the Force, and before he knows it, he's gonna get hit with a rock, and so Luminara grabs him and makes sure that he doesn't fall.
Obi-Wan, look out!
Obviously, this was just, like, fellow Jedi looking after fellow Jedi. But I am curious to see if anybody else was thinking it. Oh my goodness. Remember the scene in the start of Season 2 in the Holocronized episode when Anakin and Obi-Wan are walking down the hallway of the Jedi Temple and Luminara walks past him and Obi-Wan just kind of, like, nods at her and smiles? I'm telling y'all, there was something going on here. But the episode ends with them escaping the temple as the whole thing collapses, the queen dies, the zombies supposedly supposedly die. And Obi-Wan was just like, man, I wish we would have had one of those worms that I could study. And Anakin just responds with, well, hopefully the secret's buried with her. Unfortunately, even after watching this episode, I didn't think it was going to be that easy. And as we're going to find out next week as we talk about the episode Brain Invaders, it was not so easy. But that'll be a discussion for next week. So yeah, you guys, overall, I thought this was a good episode. Obviously, I thought, like, the first 2 episodes of this arc were definitely better, but this episode took, like, a completely different turn than what the other 2 episodes had, and I respect it. It's different, it's exciting, it gets you on the edge of your seat. I don't know what there would have been to not like about this episode. Unless you're just, like, not a fan of zombies or horror stuff, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you guys, I think that's all my thoughts on this week. I'm curious to see what you guys all thought of this episode, so let me know in the comments below. That is going to wrap us up for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.
Obi-Wan, look out! What? Anakin, no! Got it! What are you doing? I was going to study that!
Study the bottom of my boot. Come on, let's get out of here!